my official review of the 2022 BMW R18 Bagger. I've had this motorcycle in my possession for a little over 6 months, but I really didn't get to start actually riding this motorcycle until January of 2023. If you do not know, I stayed in Florida for the entire month of January. And in that month, I got to do a little over 2,000 miles of in-city riding, highway riding, country twisty riding, and just all around using this motorcycle as a daily rider. Let me take these off so I can see you. Now, if you guys do not know, I have ridden many different kinds of motorcycles, all cruisers for the most part. So being able to give you a pretty comprehensive review on this motorcycle is something that I've been wanting to do for a while because it's in my wheelhouse of comfortability, and this motorcycle is so new to the market here in the United States that genuinely people are curious. They are curious to know what I think about it. So first up, I daily ride a Harley-Davidson Road Glide. That is my daily rider. I also have a Harley-Davidson Dyna, as well as a Royal Enfield Himalayan. So I have multiple different kinds of motorcycles, but for the most part, I prefer the bigger, the heavier, and the comfier. And I will say this R18B ticks every single box. But this is not a paid review. This motorcycle is not mine. I am borrowing it from BMW Motorrad. And I am not being told what to say by any means. So everything I say in this video is going to be honest. I'm going to talk about some of the discomforts I have with the motorcycle and some of the things I wish BMW would do with this bike. First thing, let's talk a little bit about the bike itself, the displacement. This bike is a bagger in every sense of the term. It has the lockable hard bags, it has the comfortable ride position, it has the larger fairing, which is fixed to the forks, not the frame. So the fairing is very similar to a Harley-Davidson Street Glide. It moves with the handlebars. It also has the giant infotainment system up here, as well as the windscreen that is not adjustable. Some of my favorite things about the bike that comes standard with the motorcycle is it comes standard with cruise control, it comes standard with heated grips, and this bike that I'm on already has the upgraded aftermarket kit. So it has the heated seats, it has the speakers in the rear bags, the Marshall speakers, as well as the speakers up in the front. And the crowning jewel out of this entire motorcycle is the exposed shaft drive. And the fact that this bike is shaft drive means that this bike has reverse. And reverse will always be probably my favorite part about this bike. It is 1800 cc's in this beautiful big boxer motor and fast as hell. It's a pretty peppy motorcycle. A little bit of information about myself. I am 5'7" tall with an inseam of 31 inches. So I do have kind of long legs for being a relatively average height person. That being said, this motorcycle has an incredibly low seat height, an incredibly low center of gravity, and I can flat foot this bike easier than any of my other motorcycles. Very, very comfortable sitting on this motorcycle. The foot controls and the ergonomics of this bike are mid controls. I do have the floorboards. I also have the heel toe shifter on this motorcycle. I don't use the heel toe shifter. I do think it's in a very awkward position when you are trying to heel toe shift, so I just use the front shifter. Another great thing that I really adore about this bike is, for example, we are in traffic right now, relatively congested area. The bike has linked brakes, so if you have to mash on the front brake for any reason or mash on the rear brake for any reason, it's going to link both of those brakes. And it's kind of interesting because let's say you're giving a little bit on the front brake while you're really giving it a lot on the rear brake. You can feel that front brake lever pulsate. It also has ABS as well as traction control. ABS on this thing is unlike any other motorcycle I've ever ridden. This bike stops on a dime. I've never had an issue where I thought that I was losing traction. Actually, there was one time I did kind of slide through an intersection because of what was on the road. So I didn't have traction. So that was a weird situation. But I was fine. The bike stayed upright. I didn't lock up the rear wheel at all, and all was good. It also comes with modes. If you're familiar with traditional motorcycles, you have sport mode, road mode, and rain mode. And those are basically just standard modes. Rain mode is going to reduce your power to the rear wheel, it's going to lower the torque, and you're going to have a lot easier time riding through areas that have limited traction. Road mode is a pretty standard mode. Don't make me honk at you. There you go. Road mode is a pretty standard mode. Standard traction and everything like that. And then of course sport mode is I want to go fast. So this bike is very similar. Instead of rain, sport, and road, they call it rain, rock, and roll. The Germans were having fun naming that one, I guess. But right now I am riding in rock mode, which is essentially sport mode. And I always ride in rock mode unless I'm really trying to conserve gas, or if I'm trying to get myself unstuck from a sand pit. Comfort on this bike is excellent. I have ridden this motorcycle over 1,000 miles from Orlando down to Key West and back, and I have no complaints on comfortability. I do have a few aftermarket upgrades on this bike. Like down here, as you can see, I have the protective engine guards as well as the leg rests. And that is literally what they are in every sense of the word. You rest your leg on the leg rests. They are not foot pegs. I'm going to show you that here in a second, but it's that's one of the things I do find uncomfortable about this motorcycle. So when I want to put my leg up there, I have to physically lift my leg up and rest it on top. Oh my god, I just rode over off-road section. Lift my leg and set it on top of the motor, which is fine. Once it's up there, it's comfortable. But let's say, traffic slams in front of me and I'm like, oh gosh, I have to brake really fast. You can't, like, my boot gets caught and my leg gets all cattywampus and I have to really rip my leg off of the top of that thing. So it's not an easy transition to just whip back into your seating position. So it's I don't use them very often, especially if I'm in any kind of congested area with multiple vehicles. I usually use it when I'm cruising, which I'm pretty sure is the intention, but that was one of the hands down most popular questions people asked me about this motorcycle and this motor. Where do you put your feet? Well, for the most part, you keep them right underneath you at a 90-degree angle. And I will say it's very comfortable. Sometimes if I feel like my hips are kind of seizing up a little bit, I will lift my legs up and put them on the passenger pegs behind me. And that changes the riding style so much and makes it for a much more comfortable ride. I personally prefer putting my feet behind me than out in front of me. So that's one of my pet peeves, but that's something I quickly got over with this bike, is because I personally love the aesthetic of the Boxer motor. I love the grumble. I love the way it looks. I love how eye-catching it is. This bike gets way more compliments than any of my Harley Davidsons, just from people who are genuinely curious. A couple other user things about this motorcycle that I'm genuinely not a fan of are the mirrors. Mirrors are very small. Very, very small. I do appreciate that they are not attached to the fairing, similar to a Street Glide. But the bike does vibrate. People ask me all the time, does the bike vibrate? Yes, it does vibrate. You got the pistons in this thing slamming side to side every single fraction of a millisecond, like they work and they do vibrate. But when you're going high revs, anything over 3,500 RPM, the mirrors are absolutely useless. They vibrate so much that I legitimately cannot see the cars behind me. All I can see is headlights and general shapes. So for me, being a very aware rider, I always have my head on a swivel. That very much bothers me, that I can't see a clear picture of what's behind me. So I usually have to hold my mirror like that to stop the vibrations. One of my other favorite things about this bike is that large display screen down there. And I'm going to talk about that here in a minute when I don't need to hold the clutch. So it is not touchscreen. Not touchscreen in the slightest. BMW does not want you to have to take your hands off of the handlebars. So this little thing here, well, my turn signal's still on. That's a jog dial. They call it the jog dial. I do believe what's the adventure bike? The GS. The BMW GS. I think that's just what it's called. Yeah. Has that jog dial. So if you want to do anything, you have to press this little menu button up and down and then use your jog dial to kind of get over and do things. And if I want to access the heated grips on this bike, I have to go all the way over into my settings, press the down button again, and it's just not user-friendly, especially when you're riding. You know, you don't want me to have to take my hands off the bars, but you want me to have to stare at the screen for 100 hours just to figure out how to put my heated grips on. So, ooh, this is cool. I think I'm gonna have to hurry this one up because it's starting to rain. But the one thing I really wanted to talk about this motorcycle compared to a lot of the other baggers on the market right now is the price. This bike, the one I have right here, I'm actually missing a couple things on this bike that I was hoping, which would be the adaptive cruise control. That was a big one for me. I really wanted to try out adaptive cruise control for you guys. So this bike doesn't have that, but still, with everything that comes with this motorcycle, the premium package on it starts MSRP at $24,000. And that comes automatically with heated grips, heated seat, cruise control, all the bells and whistles you could want on a proper luxury touring motorcycle, compared to the base model Street Glide, such as a Harley Davidson, that has no heated seat, no heated grips. It does come standard with cruise control, but you don't have the rear speakers or anything like that, all of those like modern luxuries. And it doesn't have reverse. That bike starts at $22,000 US dollars, I think. So when it comes to bang for your buck, I think that's honestly where this motorcycle shines, especially for US touring people here in the United States who are used to their big heavy cruisers. This is gonna be a tough pill to swallow. And I've told you guys over and over again, I highly encourage you to demo ride this motorcycle if you can, because the very first time I rode it, I hated it. Total transparency, I did not like it. Having ridden all three of the versions, I have not ridden the Transcontinental, but having ridden the R18, the R18 Classic, and now the R18 Bagger, the Bagger is definitely the way to go for me. I don't need the big tour pack on the back like the R18 Transcontinental, but having that luggage rack and sissy bar, game changer, a whole new aesthetic for traveling. So immediately my favorite things about this bike, the price. You can't beat that price for as much as you get in this machine. The maintenance is pretty low. I had to get the oil changed at 700 miles and they do all of their bolt checks. Everything came back normal, and I don't have to service this motorcycle again until 6,000 miles. You get all the standard amenities such as cruise control, heated grips, heated seat, as well as a reverse gear. I'm pretty sold. And honestly, the next thing is personal preference, but I think it's a damn good looking motorcycle. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you have any questions, leave a comment down below. And if you would like to see more reviews of motorcycles like this, please let me know and I'll do my best to do more. But I've had a wonderful time with this motorcycle and I'm very sad that I have to give it back. So until my next one, you guys be good and I'll see you later.